The Pope has sent a letter to the U.S. bishops. Now, a little background. So the Pope, as many of you know, Pope Francis, he gets involved in politics. He has this uncanny ability to say he's not involved and then gets really involved, right? Let's lay it up front. I'm Catholic. I respect the Pope. He's my Pope. He's the head of the church that I belong to. It's God's church. It's Jesus's church, okay? And Pope is a member of that church. He is the head of the church. So if he says something and he makes an official declaration on faith and morals, that's a technical thing. Faith and morals, official documents, well, we have to accept, right? We have to accept it. Okay. But he can say all kinds of things about other issues, including current events, and we can disagree respectfully, like a father, like a grandfather that you respect. And you know what? He just has a way of, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm uncomfortable saying it, but it just is what it is. I'm a 52-year-old man, and I can't, I got to be myself. His manner of doing things, I just don't think is constructive too often. Pope Francis has a way of talking very loosely and throwing things out there that seems to cause confusion sometimes. Some people find it to be beneficial because it opens discussion. I think it's ambiguous, and it leads to when there's confusion, there's shadows, and when there's shadows, misunderstanding takes place. Okay, and then he puts out official letters, and we look at it. So he spoke about immigration issue in the United States. Of course, we know that Tom Homan, the border czar, and of course, Kristi Noem is the new director of the Secretary of Homeland Security. Let's summarize. I mean, the main focus right now of Homan and ICE is to get rid of criminals. Okay, people that are here who have been convicted of crimes, who are charged of crimes, and the great majority who have been ordered to leave the country by prior judges during the Biden administration and have not been forced to leave or have not left. So they're around them. Many of them are gang members and involved in felonies. How anybody can have a problem with removing these people from the country is just beyond me. I mean, I really do get the other side. People that came here illegally, and let's just say, because it's illegal to cross the border and not go through the proper channels. And I don't want to hear about amnesty. Amnesty is a legal process, but there are proper channels. So if you don't go through the channels, you are here illegally. But if you're here illegally and you're just doing the best you can and you're trying to make a new life and you're scared, I get it. I get that you're concerned. I get people are concerned for them. But let's focus on what's happening. What's happening is criminals, convicted criminals, or people charged, or active gang members, people that have been told to leave the country, have been judges have ruled that way and are not leaving, that they're grounding them up, sending them back, or going to bring them to Guantanamo Bay. So the Pope has said that this is really what's going on in the United States is not moral. It's not right. So he sends a letter to the U.S. bishops. Before we get that, though, I want to remind you of something. This is not the first time. This is not the first time where, in recent memory, where the Pope has said something. And I was going to remind you, because I think it's important. I'm hesitant to do this. I'm still in many ways an altar boy in that sense. Not an altar boy in that I'm an angel, but in the sense that, I look up to priests and bishops and, of course, cardinals and popes. But, during the election, he's on the plane. I think if you remember, we did videos on it, and people asked him about the election, and he's not going to get involved. And then he says this, and I have the quote, and I just want to bring it up because I want to remind you. Now, you tell me, am I causing trouble, or is this somebody who I believe is unnecessarily creating an area for people to misunderstand? This is what he said, quote, "Not voting is ugly. It is not good. You must vote. You must choose the lesser evil." Who is the lesser evil? That lady, Kamala Harris, or that gentleman, Donald Trump. I'm adding their names. That lady or that gentleman. I don't know. Everyone in conscience has to think and do this. Both are against life, be it the one who kicks out migrants or be it the one who kills babies. I'm only going to spend like 1 minute on this because at the time, I found it infuriating to make the moral equivalency of kicking out migrants, which, first of all, just to use the word migrants, when we're talking about illegal immigrants coming here illegally, breaking the official law, and Homan specifically removing convicted criminals or people who are charged or gang members. An equivalency with killing babies. Killing babies or kicking out migrants. So this is the stage. So now he does this, and let me bring up the letter here. All right, let me share it with you. This is letter to the Holy Father Francis to the bishops of the United States of America, and it is from the Vatican, 10th of February, yesterday, 2025, signed Francis. I think we should read it. I think we should go through here. And I'm gonna make comments. I'm gonna tell you what I think. Dear brothers in the episcopate, I am writing today to address a few words to you in these delicate moments that you are living as pastors of the people of God who walk together in the United States of America. 1. The journey from slavery to freedom that the people of Israel traveled, as narrated in the book of Exodus, invites us to look at the reality of our time, so clearly marked by the phenomenon of migration as a decisive moment in history to reaffirm not only our faith in God, who is always close, incarnate, migrant, and refugee, but also the infinite and transcendent dignity of every human person. All right, he's laying it down in biblical terms, immediately identifying the migrants with the people of Israel leaving Egypt as slaves. I'm not, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go through this carefully. Right away, setting that stage, I get it. We all get it. We all know the analogy. We're all slaves. We're all slaves to sin and death. And Jesus died on the cross and set us free from sin and death. That's the true slavery. Okay? Now, any kind of slavery that takes place on earth is atrocious. It should be condemned fully, of course. I don't know if everybody crossing the border into the United States is a slave. So I know a friend say all analogies limp. So the analogy limps a little bit. Not everybody crossing the border, the southern border of the United States in particular, is a slave. Okay? Just saying. But I do like that he says this infinite and transcendent dignity of every human person. And if you watch this show, you know I talk about dignity of the human person. Every single person has dignity and needs to be respected. Whether they're rich, they're poor, they're tall, they're short, whatever. Color of their skin, no matter what category you want to place them, the dignity of that human being is from God because they are a child of God. So I'm 100% with that. That's absolutely true. Number 2, these words with which I begin are not an artificial construct. You know what's so funny? So when you begin that way, it usually means that they are an artificial construct. Even a cursory examination of Christ's social doctrine emphatically shows that Jesus Christ is the true Emmanuel. True. He did not live apart from the difficult experience being expelled from his own land because of an imminent risk to his life and from the experience of having to take refuge in a society and a culture foreign to his own. Of course, Joseph was told in the dream to take Mary and the infant and go to Egypt. Jesus was raised in Egypt. Okay? Herod was the slaughter of the innocents. Herod killed the babies. All right? There was a threat. That sounds like asylum. Asylum seekers are a separate category. It's really important. It's really important. This is what Pope John Paul did so well. It's really important to be clear. Okay? Slaves are slaves. People living in other countries who would prefer to be here is different. Slaves, people who prefer to be here but are not slaves. 2 different categories. Second, people whose lives are in danger by a government, that's asylum.